Hello and welcome to the London United Filmmaker Podcast. My name is Greg Randolph. Today, I have Sid Menon on. We speak about growing up in India, his grad film, A Little Bit of Glitter, and a term film he did, The Tipping Point. All really interesting films, and you'll love the conversation. Sid Menon, thank you so much for being on the London United Filmmaker Podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I think as both of us are in the post-film school phase.
Yes.
So it's super exciting. I think the opportunities are endless. At the same time, it's also scary because the opportunities are endless.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like as of now, I'm just like looking forward to what lies ahead and charting your own territory. And I think that comes with a certain sense of an adrenaline rush.
Yes.
And a certain sense of I don't know, like a certain sense of like excitement, and also, like I said, like a little bit of like fear and anxiety. Yeah. I mean,
which makes it fun.
Which makes it fun.
Exactly. I want to start. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, we know each other from London Film School. We were in the same cohort. We went through the 2 years together, just like me, you, Christy, Ravenna, everybody. Like we all, it was a great group of us, and it was just such a fun 2.5 years, three years now. When did we start? September 2021. And we've had lots of experiences, man. We've made so many films together, and I think this is a great time to reflect a little bit and record something so we can kind of share it a little bit as well and get this kind of, there's always something I think you get a little bit more of when you kind of look back on something like this, so we can just mark it in time. So, and you've been highly successful. You made a really amazing film and a documentary in Term 3, mm-hmm. A really amazing Term 5 film, The Tipping Point, and your grad film, A Little Bit of Glitter, is absolutely fantastic. It's a fresh voice. I'm super excited where it goes. Again, I was just talking with Christy Arnold with Girls Together, and I think we're all in the same boat where we're still excited about what festivals might be coming along and all these different things and just the new opportunities that are coming up. So, to kind of wrap all that up, I like to start at the beginning with these podcasts and just get to know you a little bit better, some things we haven't maybe talked about before. And I'm really interested, you grew up in India, and I want to know a little bit about, and you also spent time in Dubai.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in knowing a little bit about, I know you came from and I got to let you talk to it, but I just want to preface it a little bit. You came from more of a corporate background.
Yes.
And you've come to film. So I'm curious, there must have been a love of film, like while this was all going on, and it's kind of, it grew into wanting to go to film school. Just tell me about growing up in India, what got you into filmmaking, and what the mindset was.
So, okay, this is going to be a long
conversation. That's okay.
But I would say that, so basically, I've grown up primarily in India and in Abu Dhabi, which is like next to Dubai. But I would say that like a lot of my schooling was in Abu Dhabi. So I've been outside of India since the age of 7.
Okay.
From 7 to 10 years old, I was in Muscat, and then from 10 to 16, 17, I was in Abu Dhabi.
Cool.
And then I went back to India to do my bachelor's in commerce. Oh. That was for 3 years, then worked in India for 1.5 years, and came back to Abu Dhabi because my parents were still there in Abu Dhabi. And I was pursuing something called Certified Management Accountant, which was a certification course, and that took me around 1.5 years to complete. And then I was working in Abu Dhabi for like 5.5 years before I quit the corporate world to join film schools. It was so that's why. So I would say, I've spent time in both the countries, but like I would say, if quantifiably, I think I spent a lot more time in Abu Dhabi. And if there is a place that I'm to call home, somehow I feel I would say Abu Dhabi. And, that's part of a different discussion wherein like, when somebody asks me a question, where is home? And I'm just like a dumbstruck for the answer, because I'm like, well, what do you define home? Do you define home as like the place where you're born, or the place where your family is, or the place where your memories are, because these are 3 different things at least in my life till this point. Like right now, I would say like a lot of my close friends are in London. So is London home is the question. But anyway, that is on another podcast. But I've always harbored a passion for the movies at least ever since I was like 8, 9 years old. I would not so much about film making, but film viewing is something that I was constantly kind of like interested in. I used to constantly watch the films, see the stories. Used to be so enamored by the world that they created. I think that's something. The world that was created in the movies is something that is so fascinating for me, and I always found it. I always found it so powerful that you, as a filmmaker, can create your own world. Like tomorrow, if you want a world without, I don't know, without trees.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's something that is very much possible. You can go. It smells of a control freak now that I say it out loud, but it also is like you can go and you can devise your own characters and you can create the world. It's almost like your own Sims computer game.
Yeah.
But with a much better script.
Yeah.
But I quite liked that that aspect like of films, like how how there is an entire world that you can escape to, which is your own. Like you have created that world and you're the so-called creator of that particular space. And I was just enamored, and also just like what movies did. Like I remember right from like when I was a kid, like watching Jumanji, and I was like, oh my god, like there are like rhinoceroses and stuff like running through the house, and there are creepers going through the roof and all of that, and I was like, what is this world? And then obviously when I was 7 years old is when I watched Titanic in the theaters, and I was like, oh my god, did they actually build a life-size ship and then actually sink it? Because obviously I didn't know the specificities that go behind of the filmmaking process. And then so just those kind of stuff which kept me like really active. And I would say it was at around 15, 16 when I started to like understand that okay, films have layers. Up until then, and I think that's part of your film education process, your organic film education process. And also when you hit puberty and all, you start like seeing things for below face value, like you start to dissect things. And that's when I started really understanding like, oh, this is what films can do to you. And I was like, I would watch some films and I'd be like, oh, so this particular prop was a metaphor for this thing. And, I wouldn't have understood to a deeper extent as what we've done right now in film school. But still, it is something that I would really, I would see, and then I would be like, okay, this is interesting. For example, I think one of the first films, and which is still one of my all-time favorite films, maybe in the top 3 films of the films that I really, really love, is Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
And Little Miss Sunshine for me was like, I was like, oh my God, it is such a perfect, a warm hug of a film. You can watch it for the storyline as well. You can just watch it for this dysfunctional family that takes a road trip across. But like how then you like learn the kind of the nitty-gritties of each and every, subplot in that film. How there is this very a failed motivational speaker, which I find is like the most funniest irony ever. He's like this failed motivational speaker, and he has like this 11-step process, which is like so long, and then you're like, oh my God, nobody's going to follow this. And it's just like, and then you think like, when you see it for face value, you're like, oh, it's a failed guy. But then you're like, he is also trying to like impress his dad, or like, and there is a father-son combination there, and like how he's also trying his best to do what he can. And there is, Abigail Breslin, when she has a conversation, the 6-year-old child, 7-year-old child, fabulous performance, like again nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. I think she's the youngest ever to be nominated. But she has a scene with her grandfather in the motel room bed, which is beautiful. And then she says like, "Am I beautiful?" And like again, you see it when I didn't have the film knowledge, I would see that for face value of like, oh, she's like having a sad moment. But then you see like start seeing the insecurities that there are the kind of like how she's doubting herself, and how he says, and this is I think very fitting in I think in my life at least. It's like he says like, Olive, do you know something on the lines of, do you know who are the like what's worse than failing? It is not trying.
Yeah.
Like the people who are too scared to try or something that I'm paraphrasing here, but like he says something to that extent. And that is something that struck me much later on. Like I wouldn't say it like at the age of 16, I would like, whoa, I need to like, change my course and stuff like that. But I was like, And that's when I understood the power of films. And also, like, this is a Hindi film that I'm going to talk about. It's called Omkara. Omkara is directed by this prolific filmmaker called Vishal Bharadwaj, and he used to adapt Shakespearean classics to Indian. So Omkara is actually a adaptation of Othello, and how there are all these like brilliant characters, and it's set in like heartland rural India, set in a village where there is this rise to power, because Omkara at the end of the day is about jealousy and like kind of like the insecurity and the suspicion and doubt the lead person goes through, and there is a brilliant ending to that film. I mean, spoiler alert, but it's it's like the lead kind of like kills his partner, and then after killing the partner, he comes to know that she was not in the wrong, and then he decides to shoot himself. But how this happens is that they've staged it in such a beautiful manner. Is he just realizes that the partner's dead body is lying on a bed swing. So there's like a long swing, and she's just lying flat on the swing, and she's like going swinging like pendulating left to right. And he shoots himself. He hits the swing and he falls down. And the last shot of the film is just a top shot of this dead body on the swing going right, and then you see his dead body, and then it closes again, and then it goes like, and we just hear the creaking of the swing as it goes into the credits.
Wow.
And I was like, this is insane. Like what like because till then, especially Bollywood movies are used to being very over the top, and like you at that point of time, at least, you had I'm talking about 2004, 5 and all of that. Omkara released, if I'm not wrong, 2006 or 7. And at that point of time, we were all used to like over the top, like very loud songs and like over the top flamboyant romance and all of that. And this kind of like rooted. It was set in heartland India, but like so rural and rustic, and everybody was saying curse words, and like in India, to say, because the censorship is so high, then at least saying curse words and all, especially because for it was a business decision. They wanted as many family audience to come into the theaters and watch the films. So saying curse words was not, especially Hindi curse words, was not something that was considered normal. And then this film kind of changed that. But just the kind of like the stuff that he did, like even Meera Nair, the director who made like Reluctant Fundamentalist and Namesake and all of that, commented about this film. And I just found like fascinating that the way he kind of envisioned this world, again, the world and the ending. And I was like, okay, this is like what films can actually do to you. There's so many layers to it and blah, blah, blah. So that was another film that kind of like struck a chord. So all of this was there. But now tangent a bit, films or art forms in general in India is not something that is very, let's say, positively looked upon in terms of, especially when your family doesn't come from a film background. Like if there's no content, it's more of a fear actually from the family members rather than anything else. It's not that they look down upon like people in films. It's just that they're like scared of whether this industry is safe for their child or not. Yeah. And also, I also had that kind of like a fear when I was there. When I was, in the process of contemplating whether is films the way to go. And I was like, I don't know, like, especially since when you don't have like at that initial point of time, like a support from a validation from your parents, you're like a little worried, like, oh my God, is it actually a safe field? And I was like, also like, I understood them also, like I understood where they were coming from, because they were also like, no, because we had nobody from films in our family. Like I think like most of us do, we don't have anybody from a film background in the family that is able to like guide us or be our kind of role model and take us through.
Same for me.
Or shield us from like what is the do's and what is the don'ts. We're all just making mistakes and like walking in the dark. And so that was like, I was like, okay, let me just stick to the, like, I also didn't know what was the course that I should do. Like, is there like a filmmaking course? What is the course that I should do? So I was like, okay, you know what, let me just, so the very, what should I say, obvious thing to do, or the route to take, was to go do a bachelor's in commerce. So I was a commerce student. So we had stuff like business studies and economics and accountancy and English and stuff like that. So I did my bachelor's in commerce because I was like, okay, that's the next step to do. And I spent 3 years. I had a ball of a time. I
Where was this that you were studying?
This was south of India in Kerala, where
Okay.
Joseph's film.
Joseph Dominic's from.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where both of us are from. Like
Oh,
we're from Kerala. Joseph, I think,
South
is-
of India.
Yeah, the south of India. It's in the southwest coast of India. And I think both of us have spent like time apart from Kerala throughout the course. So I used to go every once in a year to Kerala when I was studying in Abu Dhabi, because our summer vacation should be spent in Kerala. And my parents now are back in Kerala. So I went there for my bachelor's in commerce, and I had a ball. Like, I made some wonderful friends. I really learned to be independent. I mean, we lived in hostels, and you know what it is to be to like get to your own hometown, catching the bus and the train, and because all that was stuff that was like still new to me, because I was so-called like the Gulf kid, like the kid born Abu Dhabi who didn't know any of this. And thankfully language was not a barrier for me, because in like while at home we do speak mostly English. We used to like watch a lot of like films from Kerala, which is Malayalam. And sometimes and often or not, I would talk to my grandparents in Malayalam. So then we would converse that way.
Okay.
So my Malayalam was okay, not at all as close to any of like my Indian, cousins or something who you could speak fluently and read and write. I can read, but at a snail's pace. I can't write for the life of me.
What languages do you know?
English, Hindi, Malayalam.
Malayalam is the language of
from
Kerala.
Yeah, cool. And which is the language Joseph's film is set in. That second time when he comes to Kerala.
Were you able to hang out with your family when you were shooting the film there?
They were on a separate, like we were shooting this in the capital of Kerala, which is Trivandrum. My parents are set like further up north, which is like at least a 6-7 hour train ride from where we are, or maybe a 3 or 4 hour train ride from where we were. And but my sister was in the same town, like she's in the same city in Trivandrum. So my parents had come down to visit her, and they came for like 1 or 2 hours on set. I was like, do not come on set. Like, this is not like bring your parent to work day. I was like, I felt like so weird. I was like, as if, like the parents are coming to see their kids and all of that. I'm like, I'm not
bring some snacks.
Yeah, I'm not like 12 years old. This is not like football practice. Like, please, this is actual work. Like, you can't have like my parents are coming to on set.
I'm sure they'd love to see what you're up to.
Yeah, they were.
I think family members in general, especially if you're not connected to film, are fascinated by it.
Absolutely.
I think most people, I think we get a little used to it. I mean, it's still interesting to me. I try not to get too like jaded with what what being on set is like, but family members I think are just like, whoa, this is crazy, and I know that person.
Exactly. And I'm like, it's also, they came and they were like, so my brother-in-law, my mother and my father came, and they were like, they were sitting on this balcony, and they were just, that time we were filming the outdoor sequence, and they were just like seeing all this filming happening, and they were like, and since I'm the producer, I don't have much to do on set, like in the sense, like So they're like, "What is your role?" And I'm like, "How am I supposed to explain this to you?"
I
like,
did everything.
Yeah, exactly. You have to like help curate this project, and these people are here because I called them to be here and all of that. But anyway,
so you're the boss. Yeah, that's how you have to kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But then I had told them before, it's like, don't stay too long. This is weird. Just like stay, watch. And so they stayed for like 1.5 hours, and then
that's
left.
cool.
I don't even think that much. But then I remember my brother-in-law coming and saying, "Oh my God, this is such a boring process." And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah,
it is so. He's like, you guys. And then when he watched the final film, which is Joseph's film, when he watched it, he's like, we were there for 1.5 hours and you've only filmed like 1 minute or 1.5 minutes of that entire dialogue. And I'm like, that is how filmmaking is. You do only like maximum 4 minutes or something in a day that is available. But I mean, they were quite curious about like how it happened. They still are very curious. Like, I remember my sister once telling me, like, I was telling her, a production designer has to like set up the background and like the props and all of that. So my sister was like, oh, okay, I didn't know there's a person for that. I just thought you go to a place and shoot on the camera. I'm like, no, everything is curated. Like, everything is there hopefully for a reason. Most filmmakers try to put certain things for a reason, because it's just like a small kind of like a clue into what's next and stuff like that. But anyway, so they were a little scared about this profession. So that's when I did my bachelor's in commerce.
So you had been considering filmmaking for quite a while, even in undergrad.
I don't know if considering filmmaking is the right word. I was definitely interested
Sure.
in filmmaking. I don't think I had the guts to again do, whether I was like, okay, I need to do this, or I can do this as a profession. And I then I finished. But I used to constantly talk about the movies. Like I used to watch a shit ton of movies. Like at that point of time itself, I started watching Asghar Farhadi, which is an Iranian filmmaker, and he went on to do films like A Separation and The Salesman and so on, and Finding Ellie and all of that. So I was quite. But I also used to watch a lot of like mainstream Hollywood, Bollywood films and stuff like that. So I just a mix mash of everything I used to watch, and I slowly started developing my taste in films. Still also there's a lot of classics that I haven't watched. I think that's a story. Like that's something I was scared of when coming to film school. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be the odd one out. Yeah. But yeah, so then I did that. Then I joined. I was working with KPMG, which is an audit firm, for around 1.5 years or so. It was my first ever job. Again, I had like some lovely colleagues.
And this was in
Kerala itself.
Kerala.
It was in a place called Cochin. Cochin is like the more like how New York is the hi-fi city and like Washington is the capital.
Got it.
Trivandrum is the capital, but
Okay.
Kochi is like the hi-fi. Like the film industry is based primarily in Kochi.
Okay.
It used to be in Trivandrum, but they've migrated primarily to Kochi now. And
What's that city like? I mean, I've never been in my life. You know, I just think about all the people who might be listening who have just are maybe fascinated with that part of India, want to know.
Okay.
You know?
Well, Kerala, if you like extremely humid climate and beaches and coconuts, then that's your place to go.
That sounds, I don't know. It sounds like my kind of place. I don't know.
It is, but like there's also like a lot of chaos. But that's India in
Sure.
general.
Yeah.
But especially Kerala. Kerala is an absolutely brilliant place. Like this is extremely biased, but like it's political. This political, what should I say? What the word is? I don't know. The political state that it is in right now is far more superior than a lot many other states at this particular point in time. There are flaws for sure, but every time, like the Kerala is the most literate state amongst all the states in India.
Really?
There is a little more. There is a little more efforts taken for representation and so on. For example, to give you one example, there is a lot of there was a program that was going on for ensuring that all the metro staff, like all the staff members working in the subway, metro, whatever it is, were trans people. So they had to be
really?
So they had to be, so that there is, because unfortunately the trans population in India is is a sector of population that usually resorts to begging and poverty on the streets and stuff. Because of whatever reasons, like because of either they not gotten the support, there are few who've gone on to be doctors and lawyers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But at the same time, because they're ousted from their families, they don't have much. But in Kerala, there was this program that was part of, they were trying to like increase employment for trans workers, and therefore they were part of the metro tube, like all the ticketing staff and all were trans. At one point of time, that was a program that was ongoing. But anyway, Cochin is a lovely, lovely, cute little city. It isn't by the beach. It's got some wonderful restaurant. Like the eating, the culinary scene there is insane. Like you have like authentic Kerala food as well as you have like good like Western, like international.
Really?
Yeah. You have like fabulous like now more so than ever, more than when I was working there in 2011. Now more so than ever, the scene is even more better. Like it's brilliant.
Is there a dish you need to go when you go back there, or if you were to go back, is there something? And I'm talking maybe something more that's specific to the region. Is there any type of thing you need to get? Something that's really tasty?
Well, Kerala in general, which is again, this is also testament
Sure.
to how progressive Kerala is because in our like statistically speaking, the biggest majority of Indians are Hindus by religion. Excuse me, and. And therefore eating beef is very frowned upon in the Hindu religion, It's still a lot of the Hindus still eat beef, but like it's because we worship the cow and like the cow is
Yes.
considered sacred and all of that. So then, eating beef is something that's frowned on. But in Kerala, like eating beef is like considered part of being a person from Kerala. You
Wow.
have to eat beef.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like in the sense that, I mean, I would say a vast majority of the Hindus eat beef. Maybe there must be a small majority
Sure.
that don't eat beef.
Sure.
But like eating beef is in fact banned in many other states. So regardless of whether you are Hindu or Muslim or Christian or anything, you are banned from eating beef in a lot of the other states. I think Maharashtra, I'm not sure, but like Gujarat and stuff like that, it's banned. But in Kerala, it's not banned because the government is like, we are not going to ban this because it's part of our tradition. I don't have a tradition, but like it's definitely part of like, so if you go to Kerala, I think one of the things that you should have is a beef fry.
Yeah.
A beef coconut fry, which is basically like the beef cut into small chunks and then kind of like roasted with coriander seeds, onion, shallots, garlic, and ginger and like chili powder and then chopped coconut pieces.
Wow.
Small bites of coconut pieces, and then it's made in coconut oil. So it's roasted until it becomes like black and kind of like an almost a steak's a very well done steak kind of consistency. And then it's like kind of like roasted, and then you have this
Like a burnt kind of taste
but
to it.
yeah,
in like a good way.
Exactly.
It's
Like a
caramelized.
charred, kind of a thing. And you have
With
that
the coconut, that's got to be good.
It's quite good. In fact, you get it in London also.
Okay.
Like if you go to like the place where a lot of the Keralites are, which is basically East Ham or something like that.
Okay.
You will find it. And then in fact, Jambo has had it. I took Jambo out for once. And
Damn.
and then you have it with like a Kerala style paratha, but in Kerala it's called parotha.
Okay.
And parotha, it's very flaky, and it's like it's made of not whole wheat. It's made of baking flour. I mean, it's made of flour, and then they kind of like have to. There's a way of that you make it. Like you have to like cut it into strips, and then you kind of like twirl it, and then so it becomes like, and then you kind of like flap it together. And there is a lot of process. It's quite painstaking, honestly speaking. Like making it at home is not out of question. You need to be.
Got it.
You need to be like
Go get it at the right place.
Yeah, get it at from a restaurant because they know how to make it. You have to oil it up and stuff like that. So
Damn, that sounds good. Okay, cool. We're good. We're going a little straight, but this is what I like. I think it's just so cool. Like LFS, London Film School, has just connected us all together all over the world, and it's just so cool to get some insights about a place that I haven't been and maybe can go one day.
Absolutely, you must.
And I've got a really, really good idea of some of. I mean, you're just a film lover. I mean, that's very clear. Little Miss Sunshine. I love Little Miss Sunshine. I remember watching it right before I went to undergrad, and I was just like, man, this is so good. You know, Paul Dano, where he's not talking and stuff like that.
And what a cast! What an insane! Now when you look at it, there's Toni Collette, there's Steve Carell, there is Paul Dano.
They're still crushing it, like all these.
Yeah, exactly. Abigail Breslin, and I forgot the other, Greg Kinnear.
Yeah.
And I forgot the father, Alan Rickman. I think Alan Rickman. No, is that I don't know. But yeah, anyway, all of them
phenomenal
actors.
It's one of you said it. It's like a hug, like a hug of a movie.
It's like.
So I want to talk a little bit about you've got like this really interesting past where you've lived in different cities and you've got kind of I think that's something that you definitely bring to something like a film school here in London. So my question is, maybe you can tell me a little bit about some experiences being at London Film School. Like I said, you directed a documentary in term 3 and you directed a short film in term 5, The Tipping Point. Can you tell me a little bit about those experiences? And I don't mean to jump too much because I'm kind of curious, like when you're coming from not a film background, in the application for LFS, generally you submit a filmed piece and a script. What did you submit? What did you submit then? So
after I finished, so while I was in Abu Dhabi, after I finished my certified management accountant course and I got a job in Abu Dhabi, I was working as a risk management consultant. I had one random day on Twitter, I came across this competition which said that this is a competition to make a 1-minute short film about a particular theme that they would give. And the UAE government has this thing that every year they denote it as a year for something. So, for example, one of the years was the year of culture and representation, and the word was just year of happiness. Like, so everything would be like curated. All the activities, all the cultural stuff that they would do would be curated towards promoting happiness and like how happiness is important and all of that. The year I was there, the theme was the year of giving. And the theme for the short film competition, that 1 minute short film competition, was also was that it was giving. And I just found that absolutely. I was like, okay, it seems to be 1 minute. It doesn't have to be high production value or anything like that. I was like, what can I do? And then I was working then, and then I was like, the deadline was like I think around 3 weeks away, of like 4 weeks away or something like that. So I said, let me just. I thought about it for a week. I had this idea in mind wherein it's about what is the best thing that people can give, and then I thought to me like it's basically the time. Like someone's time that you're giving is something that they can never get back. Rather than any other monetary or any other capitalistic thing, or any other tangible thing. What I think the best thing a person can give to another person is their time. So then I was like, I made this very, 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 now in hindsight, look, it's very, very cheesy. It's like a Hallmark ad, wherein we cut in Abu Dhabi and then we just shot it in different parts of my own, like in the office that I was working. I got permission from my boss, and I casted my colleagues.
Cool.
And it was just about, it was two different snippets of stories that were intersecting. And it was nothing about like, it was about this like, I had an Irish colleague and he was having lunch, and then there's this Indian security guard who's having lunch, and then how this Irish colleague kind of like sees this Indian security guard and then gets up and then sits with him and then starts having lunch together, and then they start like laughing. The other one is how the other storyline is how this one of my colleagues is taking a presentation for his colleagues. So there are like some 6, 7, 8 of them in the meeting room, and then he's taking presentation. He sees a call from his mom. Okay, and then he's like, can you give me a minute? I need to take this call. And he steps out of the conference room and talks to his mom, and then we cut to like an old grandmother talking to him. So it's about like that time, that 2 seconds he took out from the meeting to talk to the grandmother itself goes a long way. And similarly for this guy to come and sit with him goes a long way. So I was like, okay, cool, and I had a certain background music in mind, which I got from one of the films. I think this is in Hollywood. I don't think I even took any copyright. They just like slapped on because it was not meant for any. Yeah, exactly. It's not meant for any public viewing. And then I submitted it, and then I was like, okay, fine. I submitted this in July, I think. Yeah. I never heard back from them, and like they said, it went on to the next season, and I was like, yeah, cool, and all of that. And then in December, I got an email saying that, hey, we're having the closing ceremony for this, and we'd love you to come and all of that. And I'm like, cool. So then I went along with them, and they were showcasing all the 26 films.
Closing ceremony for
that contest that I did.
Got it.
Yeah, for that contest that I was part of. And because it was like I honestly forgot about it because I shot this in July, and they called me in December. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then I went for it, and then they were like, okay, we'll show all 26 films, and then they're going to show like they're going to like give 5 prizes for this thing. So I was like, cool, yeah. And then like they started giving me the 5th, the 4th, 3rd, and I'm like, yeah, no. And the ones that I thought were the best ones were getting like 2nd and like 3rd. And then I was like, and then they called out my name for the first one. Wow. I was like, what? And it was fun because that's like the first ever film that I've ever done. So I was trying not for it to hit my ego. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah, but I was like, what? Like this thing, like I really saw some of the other production values. They were like insane. But that's again when I realized that production value doesn't count. It's like what you're trying to say that counts.
That's so cool.
And then what they did, and like so initially there was supposed to be a prize money. There was supposed to be a prize money of roughly around, if I were to convert it, come to around like £2,000 or something. But they said this time we don't have prize money. What we're doing instead is we are going to. So this is part of a cinema chain called Vox Cinemas, VOX.
Okay.
Vox Cinemas is a huge chain in the GCC.
Got it.
Like in the Gulf and like in Qatar,
Okay.
in Saudi Arabia and all of that. I don't know Saudi Arabia, but like it's there in Qatar and UAE. It's there like everywhere. And and they said like we don't have, but what we will be doing is we will be showcasing this film before every screening at Vox. Like every screening at Vox, they're going to like play this film as an ad.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Somehow I felt, I was like, fair, okay. I have the monetary value of that is far higher than like £2,000. So I was like, okay, cool. I mean, not that I got any work out of that. Like, it's not like some people started approaching me like, hey, are you the one who did those? Like, there's nothing of that sort. But what interesting happened after that is that because this was like a sort of like a government initiative, I was then next year part of a panel to create like one more video. It was not a competition, but like one more video for the year of happiness.
Great.
And then I just created one more video and I submitted to the government and all of that. I don't think they were playing it anywhere, but it was just like, I think they were using it for their own purposes and stuff like that.
Very cool.
And so I think that kind of gave a booster of a confidence to my parents and me, actually. Not just my parents, but also to me. Being like, oh, maybe I'm not all bark, no bite kind of a thing. Like, I can maybe try to do this. Like if I'm able to come first in a competition of maybe 26 other participants, then maybe let's give this a shot. So I think that kind of, and then I still have it, but like I rarely write now. I also had a film blog where I used to write about films that I like. I'm not a fan of writing about films that I didn't like, because I'm like, there's no point in adding salt to the wound. But if there's a film that I really like, regardless if it's a new one, if it's an old one, if it's like from 40 years ago and thing, if I view it, and I love to write my own viewpoints about it.
Yeah, writing is very key, reflective. I mean, that's just, I think that's something at school they really teach you with the work research journals as not as fun as as difficult as they can be to write. Like, it's very important. I think that's just education and analysis, is just to be able to reflect what you've seen or what you're taking in, and just try and be able to describe it in some way or so.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was like, I mean, so I used to write. So then I think that also I think a lot of my friends and family used to like read, and like I used to write. I think I wrote some nice analysis about the films that I really liked. So I think all of this clubbed together, I think, gave me also a certain sense of confidence that maybe I can go into, like, I can try exploring this.
Yeah.
And so I made that year of happiness video. And then the marketing team in the company that I was working for, they said that there's something called, because we were a remittance firm. We were a remittance and foreign exchange firm.
Okay.
So they came to me saying that there's a UN declared day called as the International Day of Family Remittances.
Okay.
Which is, now when I say it out loud, it's like so weird, but like it's actually, then it is a very important day for at least businesses involved in family remittances and all, because it's about people like immigrant workers who work in, let's say, Dubai and are sending money to their families in India.
I see.
Or like families who are based in the London who are sending money to their families in India, or wherever across the globe, even if it is UAE has a huge population of Filipino nationalities. So the Filipino workers or Filipino employees sending money to their folks and family back in Philippines. Also, there's a lot of like international family remittances that go on. They asked, would you be able? They wanted like a video in like 3 days or something. Would you be able to like do something? So I was like, cool. I mean, like, what budget do you have? Because I have to hire the like camera guy, and like I was not doing cinematography for any of these. I'm still very scared of cameras. But like I brought on board the camera person, and then we would film like for a day, and then we would edit it the next day, and then we gave it to them.
Very cool.
Again, casting only employees and stuff, and just filmed it in the office and stuff like that. It was quite fun. I quite liked that. And each of these were below 3 minutes. So when the film school applications were happening, so now mind you, I was turning 29. I had just turned 29 in November 2019, and I was like, okay, I didn't want to live in the regret of having not tried.
Yep.
So that's when I decided to quit my job and then start pursuing film school. So I quit my job by February 2020, I was back in India. And I was like doing my film school application. That's when COVID struck. And weirdly enough, that gave me a lot of time to actually catch up on like a lot of reading and a lot of like, I attended a lot of online classes.
Yeah. Reflect a little bit. Think about
exactly, and unfortunately, I couldn't make anything at that point. Like I couldn't make a movie or anything at that point in time. So then so when the film school applications were happening, I was like, cool, I'll just submit two of these films that I made. Like, so I submitted Year of Giving, and I think the other one was the ad that I did, I guess. And then they wanted for us, I think it was a 3-minute script.
Yes,
a 3-minute script. And I had coincidentally, one of those master classes that I was attending during COVID had an exercise to write a 3-page script on the act of asking money. Like they said, okay, it has to ask money. Just write a script on it. I was like, cool, I'll do that. And then I wrote a script about how a father and son are vacationing in Amsterdam, and how the son is like around 16, 17 years old or something like that. And the son goes to the dad asking for cash, like liquid cash. And the father's suspicious, and the son is like, and then the father pries a little more. And then the son eventually says that, oh my God, it's basically for buying weed. Because we've come all the way to Amsterdam, if we've not had weed, how can we do that? And then he goes and then the father's like, oh my God, you should have told me it's for weed. I would have given you the money beforehand, etc. And blah, blah, blah. And just like a friendly banter between the father and son. And then in the end, I put a small twist wherein like he buys the weed, and then both the father and son are smoking up, and they kind of like, they're reminiscing their mom who's passed away. His wife and his mother, basically, who's passed away. And then they start smoking. The father's like, this is not weed. This is like fenugreek leaves or something like he's been cheated in terms of like what weed he got. And so it was just like a 3-page script.
Wow, that sounds actually really, really great. Huh.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, this is kind of fun. So let me just do this. And then I did it. And then I was like, I submitted it, and I was honestly not expecting, because I felt this was not good enough stuff. Because again, see, that's a perception that we all have. Like when you come to like film school, you need to have like very like a true four level of knowledge, and like a Bresson kind of like knowledge and all of that and all of that stuff. And you need to have created like a semi masterpiece to apply. But honestly, and then when I got the email for the interview, I was shocked. I was like, I didn't even think I would make the interview stage. But yeah, so it was. Those are the 2 things that I submitted, and Timo, our former head of cinematography, was the one who took my interview. And
Timo Heinen was the head of cinematography at London Film School for quite a while.
I think he was working for a long time before that.
He had substantial credits. I remember early on when I was looking at the school, I was like, okay, this Timo guy is really worked a lot.
And he, when in the interview, he said, I'm so glad that you sent the script. It's so funny and cute, and thankful. And he was saying how a lot of the other applicants had sent in like a lot of pages, like not just 3 pages, 3-minute script. They sent in a lot, so I'm glad that because then they have to read through all of that.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I mean, like I assumed the brief is 3 minutes, so I should not submit more than that, because I'm sure you guys have like tons of other applicants to go through. But that was a wonderful interview, and that's what I submitted for my application.
Can you tell me, that's really great. It's so much stuff I didn't know there, so it's so cool to kind of hear about your path, how you were making things, and what led to applying to school. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your experiences at London Film School? Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like getting here, what you thought when you finally got here and we were doing online classes in the beginning, and then finally meeting some of the other cohort? It would be interesting to kind of get your perspective on just like falling into London and just like being at the school. And then I would love to hear a little bit about the documentary you did in term 3 and a little bit about Tipping Point. But just like, at your own pace, just like.
So I think I had visited, the first time I visited London was in 2005. I had come with my family. We had been on a Europe trip. Again, that was around July, August, July specifically. And I had fallen in love with London. I felt this was such a fabulous city. Like it's got such a lovely vibe to it. The climate is also so beautiful. And I'm like, I hope one day I get a chance to either revisit it or like be here or something like that. I just loved that city so much when I first came. And then serendipitously I got into London Film School, and then I still had the same amount of excitement and passion when I came. I was like I want to explore. Especially in term 1, every weekend I used to, because I had taken the Oyster card for students. I used to just like roam different parts of London. Like I would pack my lunch and I would just like see, okay, what are the things that what are the free stuff to do around London. So I would like, okay, I need to go to Brick Lane. Okay, I need to go to St. Dunstan in the east or the west or something like that. Where like these are like places that are like the hidden gems. Well, I think they're not hidden anymore, but like at that point of time. And then I would like go, then like just like doing the usual stuff of like, okay, the Tower Bridge and all those kind of stuff. Canary Wharf, just to see like, oh my god, blah blah blah. But it was I found it very fascinating. Like I was enamored by the city, and I was talking to somebody else the other day, and I feel London is such an endless series of revelation and surprises, because you might take some random corner into a street and suddenly it'll be the most beautiful street you've ever seen. Like, and that'll be the street that like will be there in like, I don't know, like in the outskirts of London, you know. And the other day I was walking through my neighborhood, and then I just like turned a corner and we were going down this path. It was like a walking path, and then suddenly I came across this huge canal, which is like sloped on both sides, and it looked so cinematic. And I'm like, how are people supposed to know about these kind of stuff? Because it's such a good film location. I was like, this is so good. I mean, maybe it's filmmaker in me who's like looking at that from every film perspective. Right. But then I was just like, that is why I'll come back to that later. But that is why I wanted like a bit of my grad film to be an ode to London. In terms,
I can see that.
In terms of like just the different places that we wanted to film.
You have some beautiful under the bridge there with the river and things like that. Kind of exploring the city and like kind of those brightness to it. You filmed in the summer, is that correct?
Yeah. We filmed in the very end of summer.
And Tipping Point actually has a lot of kind of architectural.
Tipping Point. Tipping Point definitely has. Tipping Point, especially since we filmed the exterior portions in Liverpool. Street.
Very kind of overarching skyscraper kind of feeling.
Exactly, it's the very business
modern
man, business person,
cutthroat kind of
cold atmosphere that we wanted, which is thankfully what we got. So all of this is, that was how I felt when I first came to London. And in terms of like online classes, I think at that point of time, I was just like excited to get this journey started. And same. I never like saw online classes as a flaw. I think it was like such a lovely, flexible working, learning atmosphere, because as you may know now, traveling in London takes a lot of time. Like going from my place to school easily took around 45 minutes. So that means if it's two-way, it's 1.5 hours that goes only in travel. So you think that like 1.5 hours is saved, so you can use that for like other stuff and all of that. So I used to get a lot more time to myself and like and cook, and I used to like catch up on some movies. And term 1 was a ball of fun. I remember, I think the first Saturday, there was this gathering at Crown and Anchor.
Yes.
I couldn't make it for the first one. Which is
the big hot spot for London Film School, is Crown and Anchor. It's right next door to 24 Shelton Street, where London Film School is based in Covent Garden, and it's definitely like the hot spot. People meet up and have a beer.
Also called as Cranker.
Yeah.
Many people, correct. But yeah, so then we went. I think, I don't know if you were there the second day. So I think there was that in those there were 2 days that all the classmates were meeting up at Cranker.
Yeah.
Like there was one day which I know, I think Christy and Chloe and you and Joseph and all, I think were there, or Jambo, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then-
I actually remember that. Now, it was so warm. It was September, so we were just like kind of just out, just meeting each other.
And the second day is when I couldn't make it that day, but I made the next day, where there was again Christy, me, Ayushi, Goya, a lot of the other
Wow,
folks.
it's taking me back, man.
Yeah.
It's literally.
And then we also like called some of these screenwriting students because they were also like Caleb had joined,
and Elsa,
Caleb, and all had come. I think Rebecca came for a bit.
Yeah.
I think Chloe was definitely there for a bit and stuff like that. So that's how that's why I first interacted with a lot of them. And then I was blessed with one of the best teams ever.
Yeah.
I had, it was me, it was Jambo, it was Christy, it was ZE, Max, and it was Mingwei and Zishi.
And this is for term 1. We do silent black and white films on film, on 16 millimeter. So we all get put in groups, and it's usually very fun.
It's so fun because at least I like it when the groups are made organically rather than we kind of like creating the groups on our own, because then we know that we have to work together as a unit, and like it's such a testament to team bonding and team unity. And thankfully, I was fortunate enough to land in a team that was so, like, everything worked out so cordially, and like there was no negative energy there, and we all were like, thankfully everything went smoothly in production also. And term 1 was definitely a hectic term, because the number of things that we had to do, and now I know it's much lesser than there. Like we had a 5-picture game, we had which I think is still there in the current term 1s, but like what we also had was turning the scene, wherein we had to emulate some director's styles.
Yes.
I don't think that's there anymore in the current.
Is it not? Yeah. Maybe they clamped down
because they had too much already. Because you already had the DC challenges, directing challenges, which is wherein like you create 4 groups. Apart from the other, groups that you're assigned into, groups of 4, sorry, and then you make like films on certain themes that is provided to you, and then you had these, like 5-picture games and stuff like that. So, and also your existing 16 millimeter exercise
and work research. You begin the work research. It isn't due till term 2, but that's
exactly.
a longer form writing project. Yeah,
correct. So then I was like, oh god, like this is a lot. But I had a lot of fun in term 1. Like I even my DC group was really lovely. It was me, Joseph, Bethany, and Lilibet. Yeah. And then Tavleen came in because Tavleen was a little. She joined late. Yeah, she joined late and coming to London, and it was the 5 of us. And then I had a ball of a time. Yeah. It was just so lovely to like interact with all of them, and I did feel that like, okay, that like I missed out like being as a class as a whole, like, and attending these classes, and just like the online classes and how everyone, like some of the classes just will be you, me and Christy with the cameras on, maybe Joseph and all of that with the cameras on, like many times there'll be nobody else and be like, what is this? But it was fun. I love our cohort, and I loved like interacting with all of them. And then I think at the end of term 1, because we didn't have an in-person end of term showcase, we all met at Crown and Anchor. Yeah. On one like rainy evening. That was really nice. Yeah. And I just really liked that term 1 period for me. And what we did is, as our unit, is that we planned that we'll all do hot pot. Yeah. And then we all went to Winter Wonderland. So it was just me, Shambo, ZE, Mingwei, and Zishi, and Christy. Yeah. Went to hot pot. And it was my first ever hot pot. I didn't know jack shit of what was happening. I'm like, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just dump this and like blah blah blah? But like it was so sumptuous and it was so good. And then we went to the Winter Wonderland. Yeah. At that, I'm always a sucker for Winter Wonderland. How much of a tacky it can be, perhaps, and how much of a costly sometimes it is. Whoa. Yeah, but it's I just enjoy that particular time. But yeah, term 1 was a beautiful time.
Can you tell me a little bit about Tipping Point? I think I want to jump to Tipping Point. So Tipping Point again, about 10 to 15 minute color digital films we shoot in term 5. Sid was writer and director for the film. Tell me a little bit about that experience. Basically, they're voted on the term before, right as we're wrapping up term 4.
Yeah.
We're heading into term 5. Term 4, you produced, is that correct?
Produced and edited, yeah.
You produced and edited
Christie's film.
Christie's film. I knew that. Getting Ahead.
Getting Ahead.
And we just discussed that in the last podcast. So can you tell me about what it was like preparing for Tipping Point, what that experience was like? Just take me back there and kind of give me some of your thoughts.
Tipping Point for me is, what should I say, is hands down one of my most proudest films that I've ever done till now. I mean, my grad also, yes, but like I would say specifically Tipping Point because there were so many. So I'll talk about the film and I'll talk about like how I came to that film.
Yep.
But I'm proud of it because there's so many firsts in that film. It is the first time I was directing a film that's about 3 minutes because in term 3 we've done. I mean, not excluding the 10-minute documentary, but like I'm doing the first time I'm doing a narrative film that's about 3 minutes. It was my first time. It was the first time my production designer was doing production design, which is Chichi. It was the first time my camera operator was camera operating, which is Tavleen. It was the first time my sound recordist was sound recording, which is Joseph. And it was the first time the first AD was doing first AD for the first time, which is Tom Chambers.
Yeah.
Ravenna was a DOP, but she's done like fabulous work before that. So unfortunately, I can't. But it's her first time at LFS, maybe doing DOP work. So there's the first there. But there was so many firsts, and I was just so proud. More than anything, I'm proud of the team that came together. That film is a testament to a good team.
Yeah.
Shuchi knocked it out of the park with the production design. I think the boardroom, the set that we built was corporate boardroom, and the boardroom that he did it. I was like, okay, I needed to be like a very contemporary boardroom and not something from like 90s America where you have like blinds and stuff like that. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be like very sleek, wherein you have like almost floor to ceiling length like plexiglass. I mean, later on it dawned to me that plexiglass is so incredibly expensive. So I was like, okay, this can't happen. So then we tried to like put plexiglass as much as possible. And just, so just like the way he kind of meticulously got that into plan. And just like how serendipitously a lot of things happened also. For example, we just got the table hired from Super Hire. But like everything else, like all the chairs were from the mill. Mm-hmm. Like so all the seating chairs were from the mill. And we asked the mill people, like, are you okay if we use it for the film? They were like, yeah, cool. So then we used it. Then
can you talk a little? I think the story. I think the story is key to hear.
Yeah. So so Tipping Point, basically, for those who don't know, is a to give us a brief synopsis, is about a particular meeting that happens between two very powerful women. One is a CEO of a pharmaceutical firm, and the other is a homemaker. And the homemaker has come into the office because her daughter, who used to be an employee of the pharmaceutical firm, has committed suicide because she has been fired for doing a certain, not a malpractice, but a certain error in her job.
Yeah.
And because of the person that she was not able to like digest the fact that she got fired, and she decided to end her life. And now the CEO and her communications manager, her PR manager, have called this mother in so that they can ensure that this doesn't turn into a bigger scandal than what it already is, because there's already a lot of like media fanfare going on about this medicine that was created using unregistered suppliers.
Yep.
And they wanted to kind of already, so that battle was already something that they were fighting the media. Now over to this lady commits suicide, and that's another thing altogether. So then how they wanted to ensure that this is going to be contained and so on. I will tell you where I got the origination for the film. So when I worked in Abu Dhabi, I used to report to, there are multiple things in the movie that I brought together in the film, which may or may not be a positive thing. Like, you know, too many cooks also spoil the broth. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but this was my mode of operation as to how I approached it. one of the threads that inspired me for it was that when I was in Abu Dhabi, I used to report to a female boss. She was hands down one of the best bosses I've ever had. She was very considerate and very, very understanding of. Her name was Bryony, and she was very understanding of me, of my work, and also so meticulously organized. She had 3 sons. And a home that she used to take care of, and as well, and at the same time, she would be very diligent at her work and get all the stuff done. But I did feel that like she had to work almost twice as hard as her perhaps male counterparts to get the same kind of maybe the accolades and the achievement that she deserved. Slightly, not that it was like very on the face, but like in my opinion, like I wouldn't say, I don't know if you ask her if she feels the same, I don't know. But like in my opinion, I did feel that there was a certain, she had to like prove herself like slightly more than her male counterparts. And that got me thinking, like, is there is that something that like the people have to constantly go and prove, like that, like, because of the gender? So that was one thread. But one of the most primary threads, or one of the most primary inspirations for the film was primary and then secondary, I would go. The primary inspiration for the film is I love stories where we are unable to where morality is bleak, or where we are unable to find fault with both the people. Like, I love it when in a conversation we're like, you are right, but you also are right. When it's difficult to take sides, because then the drama, I think, is intensified to another level, because then you are thinking, oh my God, what that's true. This is not the protagonist necessarily, and this is not necessarily the antagonist. And that is what I found that those kind of stories I found extremely fascinating. One of them like being Asghar Farhadi's The Salesman. And I was like, oh my God, that's insane. Like, if this person, is not at fault, but this person is also not at fault. Like, how? And then they're clashing against each other. How can we reach a consensus? That was one of a strong thread for me to like, okay, how can I develop a story like that? And then B was about how the secondary aspect was about the idea of perfection. When I had a female boss, I used to find that she had to like work doubly as hard as her male counterparts to get the same amount of, let's say, accolades and promotions that she needed. Point A. Point B, which I think is a little more stronger reason how I was able to write this, is because I really find stories fascinating when it's difficult for us to take sides between our antagonist and so-called protagonist, or whatever it is, wherein where the right and wrong, the lines between right and wrong are blurred. And I really love the writing of those kind of stories. And C is the idea of perfection, which is how I have a lot of colleagues, and I have a lot of from my corporate days who are parents and who have children, and I always wanted to when I was having conversations with them, one of the things that always kind of like stuck to me was, how do you know what you're doing is right for your child or not? How? Because you, in some senses, you are in charge of bringing up the mannerisms and the character of your child. So how do you know being too stern is also bad, or being too lax, or being too friendly is also not good? How can we kind of like where is the line? Because if you're too stern, will they become just revolted and just like go do whatever they want, like revolt against you far more? Or if you're like too chilled out and laid back, does that mean they get pampered a lot and like are left to do whatever they want? So then, and therefore, especially I think Asian kids, or Asian family, the children in the Asian families, they're always told to strive for perfection. Like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. Like sports and arts, sports and like education are like very important things. So they would be like, you need to get XYZ. You need to get grade A on all of these subjects, but also you need to be like at least in the first top 3 in class, and you need to be in the relay race and blah blah blah. I think that case there's a lot of pressure to be perfect, the perfect child.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I wanted to denote in the film, wherein we like, is this idea of perfection is so instilled into children so organically that we fail to see the kind of pressure it sometimes takes on the children. So therefore, so this, like, the crux of the story is that this lady committed suicide because she couldn't handle the fact that she is imperfect enough to be fired for a small mistakes that she did. It is not, she didn't do a malpractice, she didn't consciously do something because of certain error. These that she didn't. She's the head of quality research. So yes, it is a small error that happened from her side, which resulted in these medicines, and there's no fatal. Nobody died or anything of that sort. It's still. It was, thankfully, it was found before that error was found before any of this thing happened, and they kind of like they recalled all the medicines and stuff like that. But what she couldn't handle was that the idea of not being perfect in front of her mother, and therefore decided to end her life. Now that is the backstory that's not there in the film. But therefore, I wanted to bring this story about like how these two women are fighting for two very valid reasons. Now, why are we choosing between two women for whom one whose concern is her child, her baby is her daughter, and for the other one, her baby is a company? Like, why are we automatically conditioned to think that a woman who has a child who's fighting for a child is far more important than a CEO who has focused on her career, who's not married, or who doesn't have, or who's married and has no children, but for her baby is her company? Why is that any different? Why do we as society conditioned to think that, yes, obviously there's humanitarian reasons and all when a child dies, but like why can't we see two people of the same, like, equally powerful? And that is why. So for one is fighting for the reputation of her company, which is the CEO, and the other one is fighting for the reputation for her deceased daughter. Like when the mother comes in, she doesn't want money. What she says in the film is that I just want a statement from your company absolving my daughter of whatever that she's accused of. And now the company can't take it back because they've just held an entire press conference about the film. About the incident. So then who is in the wrong here? Like, why are we saying that the CEO is wrong? The CEO did exactly what she had to do. She had to follow the rule book, and she fired her. It's not like she fired her much before this happened or anything, or fired her for any other reason. This happened, like, if she had kept on that employee, then other questions would have raised, like, okay, how do we know that this may not happen again, and so on and so forth. So I think so that's where I approach the film from. And also, I have a huge fascination for corporate thrillers.
Yeah.
Like, I love like the coldness of those, those grey blue furnitures and like those walls that we film in.
Any favorites that you can think of?
Not movies, but like I'll tell you the two references that we had for Tipping Point. One was Margin Call. Margin Call is a 2011 or 12 film or something like that. 2011 film about the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, which kind of like instigated the 2008 financial meltdown that happened. So the entire it's about one particular night wherein a normal junior analyst comes to find out that all our calculations are wrong. And this is me putting it very bluntly because it's quite financial that I don't understand jack shit of it. But it is so. And then how he then calls his bosses and his boss's boss and everybody, and like, we are going to crash soon. Like, the markets are going to crash soon. We really need to like be privy about this, blah, blah, blah. And then how overnight, so the entire film is set over one night, and there's Demi Moore, and there is I forgot the guy from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey, and all these people, and there's Stanley Tucci, and like they're all running helter skelter, like trying to like who's going to get sacked and who's going to fired, and just the tension of like overnight things are going to change. Like they are going to be responsible for an entire meltdown of the world economy. Like that 2008 meltdown really affected a lot, and I have had personal experience with it, and I was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
I was in college then, but still. But so that's one of the reasons. The other one is an HBO series, which is called Industry.
Okay.
And that's a brilliant, brilliant series that I started watching it only in 2020. Okay. It's about like 7-8 freshly minted finance graduates who enter the humongously high stakes field of investment banking in London. And like how and they're entering this world of like everybody's taking drugs, and like the competitive nature of that when everybody's trying to strike deals, and like the market is also so fluctuating, and like again there's a lot of technical jargon, but the beauty of that is you don't need to know any of that, because at the end of the day it's about the people. And it is so well done since season 3, and season 3 is getting excellent reviews. But I just found that again that world so fascinating, like these very sleek looking offices, but then it's so cold. And that is what in my term 5 pitch, in the pitch deck that we were creating, I mentioned that okay, I want to create this very cold, merciless environment, and that's where we worked so well. Like the DP Ravenna and my production designer Chichi worked so well because we sat and made a color palette for the film. We were like, nobody in the film should be wearing anything like red, or like nobody should be wearing anything like yellow, because that one thing will take you out of the film.
Yeah.
So even when the extras were casted, we told them specifically, none of these colors. You can wear anything that is, like, what should I say? Dark grays, dark blues, blacks, whites, maybe dark greens. And also when we were grading, also we wanted colors that were only like to do with blues, grays, and dark greens. Basically nighttime in London, in the corporate world, in a corporate environment. And that's the kind of like world that we created for Tipping Point. And like I said, the film is a testament to my team, honestly. They just like knocked it out of the park. I mean, Ravenna, we all know, is a wonderful DP, and then she did some brilliant, with all the lighting equipment we had, and using an Alexa Classic, like it's not even an Alexa Mini or whatever it is. All of us worked really hard. Even the sound, also Joseph, even Tavleen, who was 2 roles. She was producer and she was camera operator. We worked really hard because one of the major things and one of the most scariest things that we had about the film was we had an entire 3 plexiglass overlooking the back, so we needed to ensure, because one thing I was really scared of is like I didn't want the backdrop of
this is for the on location shooting you were doing.
This is for the studio.
In the studio, when you built the studio set.
There is an entire side of the conference room that is supposed to overlook a city skyline.
Sure.
So now we didn't want to, obviously we didn't have budget for doing like VFX and thing. So we put a backdrop. And the backdrop was a nighttime city skyline, which thankfully for serendipitously the school had. And it was a trans light backdrop wherein you project light from the back of the backdrop, and then it'll go through the backdrop and it'll illuminate all the street lamps and all the lights and all of that. So I was like, this is so cool. Let's use it. And then it's Timo who gave us, because I approached Timo the day after I got selected for the pitch. I had approached Timo, there is this something that I want to ask you, like, what would you suggest? So we're doing this wherein like one side of the conference room is going to be glass and all of that. What would you suggest? He suggested like, why don't you use Christmas tree lights? So then, like, not the blue and green ones, but like just the yellow ones. And then he said, just stick that, and then in your lens, it'll be blurred, so it'll look like city style. So we use this backdrop, and then we also put like tree lights, and we just put it in the shape of buildings and blah blah blah. And it worked. And then like that's so even during, how we have test shoots, in term 4 and 5. So in the test shoot, we tested out how that lighting would look. And we tested out like how, my production designer, Chichi, also what he did is you get free swatches of wallpapers. So we selected like some 8 different wallpapers. We put that wallpaper swatches on in the test shoot. And then we checked like, okay, which one looks best with this kind of lighting and so on. And so like all of my team members like just came together to give in the best that they wanted. So it's I mean, I feel all the films that everybody does is a testament to team bonding.
Yes.
But then I think Tipping Point, like everybody just wanted to give their best, and I'm so very grateful to that team.
Yeah, you're clearly you're very proud of it, and yeah, I remember you sitting there during the crits and just how proud you were of it, and it just seemed like the whole team was working together really well. So it's really nice to hear some of kind of the inside scoop on how that film went, and just like congratulations on it. So that's great. I think I get a nice sense of what your Term 5 project was like. This was obviously a huge step for you as a filmmaker to make something that's beyond 3 minutes, to make something that's closer to the 10 to 15 minute range. It was a highly successful project, I think, in that regard. I want to talk about your grad film, A Little Bit of Glitter. I know you were really busy with it. You produced and directed it. Is that true?
I co-produced.
Co-produced with
Spandana Bali.
Spandana.
Yeah.
And Spandana is from the screenwriting.
No, she's from.
I'm sorry, she's from MIF. Yes,
she's from
totally.
MIF.
Spandana
yes.
is from MIF. Can you tell me a little bit about that project? Just anything that comes to mind. It's a fascinating film. Again, you worked with Ravenna on it. It's just, I think it's a really strong step for you, as far as the types of stories you want to explore. Just talk to me a little bit about it. Whatever comes to mind, whatever your experience was shooting it. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about post-production, just kind of through and through.
I'm trying to think. So basically, A Little Bit of Glitter was, before that, taking a step back, most of the films for me are derived from a certain image that I have in my mind.
Yeah.
Like for me, unfortunately, I'm not blessed with like getting stories at the I'm so envious of people who can. Hats off to them. But like I have a certain image in my mind, and I'm like, okay, what could be the story for that? And then work and it doesn't have to be an image in that I've seen in real life. But for example, in Tipping Point, I was like, oh, this image of a powerful CEO and a homemaker in the same room together. I'm like, that is so interesting. And then I tried to like curate story around it and then work towards it.
Got it.
For Glitter, the image that I had, and I had this image since term 1 actually, is I had this image of a 65-year-old Indian woman going to the Pride Parade for the first time in her life. That's it. Like whether she is an ally, whether she's from the community, was not something that I had thought of. But I had this idea, and I was like, this is interesting, and I wanted to then curate a story about it, and then I also wanted it to be based in London. Because I just love the vibrancy and the kind of like diversity London has.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, okay, what can I do to make a story? And I'm a person who really loves bringing about representation in my films, not just from the LGBTQ community, but also like for example, in Tipping Point, I was even at one point considering, like in the press conference, we'll have an actor who is physically challenged in a wheelchair as one of the reporters. Just like, even if they're just there as a reporter, just having them represented itself for me means a big thing.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, what is the kind of representation that I've not seen? So then I was like thinking, I was like trying to like rack my head around like, okay, what's the kind of, and then I thought to myself, I've never seen a 19 or a young black, in fact, for the matter, I've not seen any a black person interact with a older Indian woman.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that is such an interesting two worlds to like, make them collide. And I just found that very fascinating. Like I was like, I was like, oh, what if I make this like 19-year-old black gay boy interact with this 62-year-old Indian woman? And like how in some senses they both need each other. And at the same time, and then they decide to go like to the Pride together. So I was like, this is very, so then I started to like, so I knew my beginning, I knew my end, and I knew bits and pieces here and there. But then I wanted to like, like kind of like bring it together. And that's when I wanted to co-write it with Issy Halpin.
Yes.
And I co-wrote it with Izzy Halpin. The story was, and then...
Izzy Halpin is from the screenwriting department at London Film School, also co-wrote Girls Together. film with the grad film with Christy Arnold.
And I was I enjoyed like creating this film because it was just like I was like, okay, fine. What do we initially? We were like, okay, maybe we'll focus on dance because wherein she really likes dancing, and then she's been this very subservient woman all her life, and then slowly through dance she kind of like comes out of her shell, and then therefore goes to the pride parade, and then she's with the boy, and then she dances there. But for some reason, I was like, that's not landing properly. It's not landing. Initially, the story was supposed to be about a much younger woman. Like, it was supposed to be about a woman who's in her 40s. And how this boy becomes, and she's in an unhappy marriage. And how this gay boy who's sharing the flat upstairs befriends her and, like, helps her to leave that marriage and then and
start fresh.
Start like a certain embrace of freedom. And
he's kind of representing sort of freedom or a sort of
exactly
kind of new way of thinking.
Exactly. So then this is, but then I realized like he doesn't have much of a role to do then. Like the he just becomes like a catalyst and then goes away. So then and also I just felt like dissolving a marriage was too big a step to something to happen in like in a short film. So then I thought, okay, fine, let me make her elder and make it about a simple act of defiance, like just standing up for him. And what I really liked and what I really wanted to do was to make sure that both of these people need each other for totally different reasons.
Yeah.
Now he needs her because he has ran away from home, and he is not like in good terms with his folks. So he sees a mother figure in her, and she sees like a friend figure in him, and how he pushes her to like do what you want to do. Don't be under the clutches of your brother. And just that. So that's how that story came into being. We filmed it in September of last year, that's 2023, in the summer, the end of summer. And it was, we filmed for 5.5 days, technically speaking. Like we half day was the Pride Parade.
In where was it? Where did you?
Reading
Yeah.
Pride Parade. We got official permission from them to film.
Yeah, really lovely credit sequence with walking through the Pride Parade.
Very nice. So we got them and then we filmed one day in a house in Enfield, and then 3 other days in a house in Forest Gate, which we were again so lucky to stumble upon because that house was where a lot of the action was happening, and I wanted to ensure that we found a house that is slightly Indian but not completely Western, because in the backstory she has shifted to London only a few years ago. She's still bringing her Indian instincts. She's not yet been modernized yet, which is why, and that brings me to the reason as to why we brought in our actress flew in her from India. So my actress, her name is Sushma Deshpande, and she's slightly renowned indie film actress in the state of Maharashtra in India, which is where Bombay is. So she's acted in a lot of feature films as a role of a mother and a grandmother. But she's in 2018, she also does a film called Aji, wherein she's the lead. And it's a very dark, gritty film about how this grandmother takes revenge on the rapist of her granddaughter. And like how she goes and, through the train tracks and all of like in this grunge locations, trying to take revenge on this rapist. And that got into Busan and stuff like that. So, and she's also done queer films, other queer short films called My Mother's Girlfriend, wherein she plays this like 50-year-old woman who starts having a relationship with another 35, 40-year-old woman.
Wow.
And has an intimate relationship with her and all of that. Wow. So I was very fascinated. So
it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Open-minded actress from Maharashtra.
Exactly. So I was like, this is so cool. This is really nice. Let me and one of my acquaintances and friends that I knew had directed a film with her, like a short film with her. So then I got the contact from him, and I also spoke to him, like, how was your experience? He's like, yeah, absolutely fine, blah blah blah. And then I I reached out to her, and then
Did you do that through an agent, or how did you?
no, she didn't have an agent. She was like,
Right.
because like, yeah, again, like in India, like, I mean, I think only if you're like extremely big do you actually need an agent.
Okay, cool.
But I did try some casting, like casting bigger actresses, but for some reason I wanted somebody who's not modern. Like everybody when I auditioned people here, everybody had this like kind of tinge of modernity to them, and I wanted somebody who was very rustic and very Indian.
Yeah.
So just like a fish out of the water kind of like a aspect, and then this odd couple trope of like she not pitted against, but like in the same room as a 19-year-old black boy.
Yeah.
And just like
Certainly a contrast. That's for sure.
exactly, and then like how they kind of both benefit each other, or like both are needed for each other, and that's how the film ends. So then I was like, that's how I was assured that okay, I want to spend money on bringing in an actress from India.
Cool.
And I hope and I think it has paid off. But yeah,
Absolutely. Can you talk about the actor, the co-lead?
Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan again. So this is
And
what
his name is
Jordan Darbasi.
Jordan Dabasi. Yeah.
Jordan Darbasi.
I thought he was fantastic.
He is absolutely fabulous. Now, a fun fact is that he is I mean, I know a lot of people might say this is queer baiting, but he is a straight personal trainer in a gym who plays this slightly flamboyant gay boy. Yeah. And he's like
fantastic performance.
And he's like 27 years old or something.
Yeah.
But he plays a 19-year-old boy in this. Again, now this comes to my aspect of how serendipitous filmmaking is, because and how every project you work on, and this is something that I keep on telling people, like when people come to me saying that, oh, we don't want to do unpaid films and blah blah blah, but I'm like, you do unpaid films, A, for the experience, but also B, for the contacts that you make.
Yeah.
You don't know who will be helpful where. Jordan was the lead actor in a Term 4 film that I was first AD for. And
I recognize him from something.
Yeah, it's called Shapes. The film.
Oh yeah, it's Sahil's.
Yeah,
I just saw Sahil's grad film at.
Fabulous film.
It's great.
Abu. And I also was like trying to gain experience as a first AD. So I decided to first AD his film, and he was one of the leads in that, and I just like found him so endearing. Also, his energy on set was absolutely beautiful. It's really nice, very sweet. And then I had a chat. I was in touch with him, and then as I was casting for my film, I did audition a few others, but somehow, so for the backstory of my character, Nick, the character's name is Nick. It's that he has only recently come out to his family. So I didn't want somebody that is extremely flamboyant and extremely effeminate, because I wanted somebody who's just come out. So therefore,
he's a touch vulnerable.
He's a touch vulnerable, and he's still getting comfortable in his own skin. He's not that comfortable to be like, hey girl, and all of that. I didn't want that, because I wanted it to be like a notch lower. I wanted it to be a person who could, he is slightly, he could be gay, but at the same time is not like outright there.
Yeah, totally.
And so unfortunately, all the people that I was casting, even though I tried to like kind of like tell them, let's bring it down a notch, it still felt it was very much a person who felt very comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is why then I just thought, okay, what if I audition him? And he said like, can I get back to you in a day? And then I was like, yeah, sure, because it's also a role that he has to be comfortable with. He has to be comfortable portraying this gay character and like putting on makeup and stuff, because there's so much of that involved. And he was totally fine, and he was an absolute sport. And then I auditioned him, and I was like, this is him. This is Nick, because he was so like, he didn't have that, that complete confidence in his sexuality.
Sure.
But he was a notch lower, and it's exactly what I wanted. And he and my actress worked very well together. Like, cool. They were just like, it was so lovely to see them bonding on set. It was nice.
Yeah, it's a nice friendship. I mean, that's really what I think you characterize it as. Just a nice friendship. That's really how it how it feels and how it's portrayed on camera. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing some more information about your grad film, A Little Bit of Glitter. We're going to be screening our films in January at BFI.
Coming at
the
BFI
showcase.
near you.
Do you know what day yours is?
Mine is on the second day, which is the 14th.
Mine as well.
Yeah, yours is just before Joseph's.
Yes. So
Mine is just before the slot before that.
And really, I think in general, it's open to the public. I don't want to come inviting everybody, but maybe I'll post. I'm going to post some links. I'll post some whatever links to your IMDb, whatever on YouTube, wherever this ends up. And I'm happy to post any information you want about any upcoming screenings or things like that, or your Instagram or whatever, just to get your name out there more.
Yes.
So Sid, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your grad film. My next question is really just looking forward and looking towards the future. We've got London Film School in the rearview mirror now. We're going to be screening our grad films at the graduate showcase in January. Tell me a little bit about what you're interested in doing moving forward. There's a lot of things kind of flying in the air recently. Obviously, there's always kind of the doldrums of after school worry and fear a little bit, but I trust that you're going to find your feet. I know you're still doing a lot of work with London Film School, but I'm just curious, what do you, I think you have to manifest it, right? You have to manifest the things that you want to do in regards to your filmmaking and in regards to your life and just in general. So what do you see for yourself, in regards to filmmaking in the future?
I don't know. I think if I were to say, I'm going to start off on a negative note, actually.
Sure.
It's weird. But I enjoyed my time at London Film School. I really enjoyed my time. I think I came in with a view that I wanted to direct, and I was able to direct 4 out of 6 terms at LFS, including a grad term. So I directed in term 2, directed in term 3, directed in term 5, and directed in term 6. And I was really happy about it. I was okay, fine, this is good. But what I think was a offshoot or a kind of a byproduct of that is that I didn't develop any trade craft that I can make money on a daily basis by being on set. Mm-hmm. I'm deathly scared of cameras. I don't know why. I'm just no, I feel like I'll mess up everything. But I see a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my counterparts being a camera assistant and first AC or second AC or sound recordist, or script supervisors. And I didn't develop any of that, unfortunately. So that is my only worry per se, because unfortunately directing and producing, and even though both of us have done so many projects together as producers and co-producers, producing is not something wherein you can come on set for few days work and then get off. You can get off set because it's not, it is something that you need to be with the project for a while before, and then help produce it, and then go through it through production and finish it. So it takes a couple of months. And unfortunately, short films or the films that you see, the opportunities that come are not, you do not get an opportunities to be with them right from the inception. So I'm trying to figure out how can I have a supplementary source of income, which is not just directing or producing. So I'm quite keen on exploring working for a casting agency. I really love the process of casting. I'm also looking at, I'm only contemplating, I've not even started doing my research, but I'm contemplating doing an intimacy coordination course. Because because those are also 2 aspects wherein you're very close to the director. So not only does it help me become a better director by understanding how other directors would do work and getting best practices from them, but also understand what is the kind of approach that one can follow. What are the kind of means and techniques by which one can direct an actor and so on. So and intimacy coordination also is an up and coming field, which I think is something that I would love to explore, pacifying the actors. Not pacifying is not the right word, but making sure that the actors are comfortable in their own skin when they are going in for an intimate sequence and so on. And I think that's very fascinating. I think especially, and there's also something wherein I can be on set for a few days and then get out of it and then still earn the money that's required. So right now, I think, like you said, I think the word doldrums is a very apt word because it is such a scary time when like what is this, what is next, and there's not going to be an answer very quickly. And also, as you know, the UK film market is still finding its feet after a quite a bad 1 or 2 years, and we are still. Everybody says that next year onwards it's going to like pick up a lot, but then hopefully, and touch wood, I think it's going to be true. But I think at the same time, just like maybe using the time to like perhaps write something else.
Is there something you're looking to write? Would you be interested in writing another short? Are you interested in doing something more long form?
I know I would love to do another show. I think I want to do like at least a short or two more before I ever even attempt at long form. But I think I would definitely want to start scripting a long form because scripting a long form will take years and years in terms of like coming to the draft that you're happy with. And I in fact would love to expand both my short films into like and like definitely I feel glitter has scope for a long form. And a tipping point, I would love to expand it. I think there is scope. I just think it has to be it has to be crisp and concise, like a nice 85 to 90 minute film, which is like which is an OTT or a Netflix film, that doesn't not theatrically released or anything like that. Something like, this is a very high level talk, but something like I see as that. I don't know what's the scope of it like for theatrical release, but I do think the British industry will be open to something like a glitter in a long form, because there are so many films that are like that already, like Best Exotic Marigold Hotel and like Salmon Fishing in the Yemen are all very sweet films. But so it's just like finding a ground and like figuring out what to do. We as most of us also don't have visas to stay here infinitely. Figuring out what is the next 2 years going to be. But or is it that we have to like, because what the approach that I'm taking is I'm trying to take it year by year. Like our visa started in August of last year, and I want to take it till next year August to see the decision as to like, is it financially feasible to continue staying here, as much as I would love to. But I also have to be pragmatic that way. Like money doesn't grow on trees. So pragmatic that way to see like if I'm able to like sustain and if I'm able to like still work. And find work and depend purely on money that I've made here and my contacts that I've made here. But if not, then I also need to like start building my contacts in India. Because eventually, if you have to go back there, then you have to go back there. There's nothing wrong in that, or there's nothing you have to find dejected about that, and that's it. Yes, the industry is different. Yes, a lot of most of my contacts are here by virtue of me having done my film school here. But you never know what could lead on to what, and so I think it's just like it's difficult. I say this and I'm still having panic attacks and anxiety attacks like maybe every other week, but like I think things will work out for all of us. I think the only point is to stay optimistic and then give your best to everything. So right now, and for me especially, I can't speak for others, but for me it is just to stay active, to stay on different projects,
busy every day.
Exactly. So I'm producing 2 short films coming up, which are being filmed in February.
Which are those films?
One is a 6 to 7 minute short film directed by Jonathan Williams. Whose grad film was also co-produced by me. So I'm quite happy about that.
And his grad film was
Sharks in Colvin Bay. A very cute little story. Not cute. I don't know why I'm using the word cute, but like a very quirky little story about a loan shark and a restaurateur, a very affable restaurateur in Wales, and how things don't go very great. And the other one is James Cockrell's graduation film, which is called Printed in Grey, which I think is a very important film in today's times. It is about a journalist who has to make the decision of printing or not printing certain photos that have been obtained from a school shooting not many hours ago. So I think in today's volatile political environment, I think that is very important. And I'm so glad to be co-producing that again with Alessandro, who is from James's cohort. And yeah, so at least that's keeping me busy, and it's just keeping me like wanting to work forwards, and also at the same time scout for job opportunities and see like, okay, what's out there. As much as I'd love to do freelance films on the side, if there is any kind of like a production job or like something of the job that I can take up, I would really, a creative producer job, I would really enjoy that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So that's
Well, it sounds great. It sounds like you've got some great projects lined up. Printed in Grey sounds super exciting, and Jonathan's film as well sounds really
that's
amazing.
called Full Tank.
Full Tank.
Full Tank.
Got
Yes.
it. Got
It's
it.
a very fun little film.
I'm excited to have both of them on at some point in the future on the podcast. One last question.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about your tattoo, Ubuntu?
Oh, yes. So I don't know if the camera can see it. It's like here. I don't know if the camera can see it. But, I'm just going to like wave so that you know. Ubuntu. Ubuntu actually kind of... a lot of the people, a lot of the tech people always come to us, why do you have Ubuntu on it? So I'm like, it's not the operating system. And they're like, no. I'm like, yes, it's not. There is an African philosophy behind it. Ubuntu is actually an African term. This coincidentally also relates to my my ethos behind filmmaking. Is because I feel as a director or a writer or something, I alone cannot make the film. I alone cannot make a film, be it a short film, be it a micro budget film, be it a feature film. I'm absolutely useless. I can captain a couple of people, but like me alone is absolutely pointless on a film set. Sorry. So I think so. What I really liked about Ubuntu has basically two. In my very layman understanding of it, it has two branches basically, two aspects that I like that it talks about. One is that it says that when I'm describing a person, I shouldn't describe them by their physical traits, but rather than the way you should describe a person by the way they treat others. So, for example, I cannot say rather than me saying that, okay, Greg is this tall human being, or he's tall and he's white is not the thing that I should be bothered about. What I need to be bothered is Greg is that person who's very affable and outgoing and interacts with everyone, makes everyone feel welcome at home. So I think that is his identifiable characteristic. And I found that very fascinating because even me and a lot of us are always prone to be like, who is, I don't know, Sam? Oh, you don't know Sam? Sam is that guy, he's like a little plump and, he's a little short and all of that. And I'm like, that could be like 400 other million people in the world.
Yeah.
And by virtue of that, it then offshoots into Ubuntu, the philosophy offshoots into the one line that it kind of encapsulates Ubuntu is, I am because we are. So, and I really loved that when I read about it, and I was like, it's a philosophy that Nelson Mandela used to preach a lot. I am because we are, because I found that really fascinating, and I feel that fits in very well into filmmaking, because I am where I am because of where we are, as a unit. I spoke about Tipping Point and Lent, and Glitter, but like more about Tipping Point. I'm proud of it because of the team that was there with me. Like, they put an insane amount of efforts, and yeah, unfortunately, the film business is such that the director or the producer principally walks away with the credit of the film. But then it's always like you all have worked together. You all have contributed to it. You all have brought in a different layer to the film that I wouldn't have thought of. And I think that's what's like. It's always, I love the democratic process of filmmaking. So that's why I feel Ubuntu is so apt even in filmmaking, because I am here able to tell the story because we all have worked together towards it. And I think that is very fascinating. And that's why even in both my films, in Tipping Point or in Glitter, I always usually end it with like a film by Sid Menon and team. Because I like that, because we are all in this together. I don't know if it's a little me being a little too fancy pants or whatever it is, but like I like it when it's all of us together, because then it's about us. We've done this together. The editor also, Christy, has also contributed so much to the film. She's like, we don't need the scene, we don't need that scene. Even though she may not be on set, she, they always say a film is made in 3 stages. It's made in the writing, it's made in the production, it's made in the edit flow. And even my sound recordist was like, okay, this is an intimate dialogue. So then I wouldn't have thought like that. Like my sound recordist the other day was saying that how there is a conversation between these two people and we're going to have focus on camera. That means I need to ensure that the sound that I get of these two characters are crisp and clear because we are so close to them. Mm-hmm. And I feel that is such a beautiful thing because then that's where his or her or their input comes, like as a sound recordist. And, just like, and my production designer also was Chichi again for my grad film, and he is not an Indian. So, but this film is about an Indian household. It principally takes place in an Indian household. So, thankfully, he and my art director Narika, who's also an LFS student, worked well together. Narika is from India, and they both gelled so well together, and then brought the world together very easily, and. Yeah, I mean it's principally about the teamwork. I like Ubuntu because I think and I always say that like every film for me, what's very important while filming, while I'm directing, is the vibe on set. Even if I'm producing, because the moment you create a very hostile work environment, and we've all been there. Like you have been there. I've also been on sets which are like I just want to get out of the set. If the moment I create a hostile work environment, any of the other HODs or any of the other crew members can just walk off and like, I'm sorry, I do not want to be part of the set. Even if you're offering money, I just do not want to be part of the set because it is taking a mental toll on me. Like we were filming in Forest Gate, which is extremely East London, and my costume designer was in Wimbledon. So she used to travel up and down every single day. Now, and it's a costume designer. If we had created an environment which is so hostile and so negative, she could have chosen not to come. She could have been like, I do not wish to like be part of this project. And we were paying her peanuts because we were a short film, self-funded and all of that. But it is just, it's those small things that because the moment your costume design is not there, you're going to like miss out on so much on the film. And so it's those small things that you have to ensure that like the team feels at home when they're doing a film with you, be it you're producing or be it you're directing. I think that's very, very important. And I think but although I did get this before I joined film school, like I got this like way before I even took the decision to quit film school. But I just liked how it is also important in filmmaking. So yeah, that's Ubuntu for you.
That's thank you so much, Sid. Yeah, I just appreciate you kind of explaining it because I think it's really a nice ethos and a nice idea behind it. Sid Menon, thank you so much for being on the London United Filmmaker Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Greg. This is such a wonderful initiative. I'm so glad that I came.
Absolutely. We're going to do more soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to more.